This week in Jamaica Now, a university dropout is murdered in Manchester. The suspected killer deacon commits suicide. Cops on the probe after a motorcyclist is slammed to the ground. The never-ending police used car saga. Parliament hears that they have failed the rigor of the job. Jamaican ex-cop Schoolboy Richie in U.S. prison on drug charges. NESol under fire again after paying $12 million to a company without a contract. And former U.S. President Barack Obama speaks out amid deepening worry over the Trump administration.
So these are extraordinary times. And they're dangerous times.
I'm Damian Mitchell, and this is Jamaica Now. The search for a 59-year-old suspected Seventh-day Adventist killer deacon ended Thursday when the body of Linton Stevenson was found at his Bloomsfield Circle home in Manchester. It's the same place where Stevenson is suspected to have murdered 25-year-old Kaheem Campbell almost a week earlier. On Tuesday, August 28, Kaheem's mutilated body was found by the police wrapped in a sheet in an igloo in Stevenson's Toyota Starlet motorcar on the Marshall Spen Main Road. Kaheem was a Northern Caribbean University dropout. Her father, Dr. Amos Campbell, is the pastor of the True Vine True Holiness Church in Mandeville. He said his daughter moved out of the family home and refused to return or take calls from him or her mother despite their best efforts. Kaheem's suspected killer was on parole after being released from prison, where he served time for murdering a woman in St. Mary. The Independent Commission of Investigations has demanded statements from the two policemen involved in the body slamming of a female motorcyclist. The woman reported that she had stopped after being hit from her bike by a car which the cops were traveling in. She said as she spoke, she was thrown to the ground by one of the cops. The incident was caught on tape by a bystander on the Mandela Highway. The woman said while on the ground, one of the cops manhandled and handcuffed her. The cops had charged the woman for assaulting a police officer. However, she is fighting the matter, and her lawyer, Christopher Townsend, says she will be relentless. Schoolboy Richie, the once feared Jamaican policeman, is now serving a 10-year prison sentence in the U.S. The ex-cop, whose given name is Errol Cliff Richards, reportedly admitted to a judge that he was a part of a syndicate that attempted to import a cocaine shipment to New York. On Tuesday, a spokesman for the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York confirmed that Richie has agreed to forfeit $200,000 US, or about 25 million Jamaican dollars in cash that was seized by investigators. The sentence was imposed 2 years after Richards pleaded guilty to charges of attempted importation and conspiracy to possess and distribute more than 5 kilograms of cocaine. In June 2014, Schoolboy Richie was indicted along with his co-defendant, Ronald Mohammed Nirani Badlow. According to the Bureau of Prisons, Richards is scheduled to be released on March 4, 2023. Prosecutors Emil Bove and Adam Free revealed in court that if Schoolboy Richie had opted to go on trial, there would have been overwhelming evidence against him. The long-running police used car saga was in the spotlight again this week. Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee was told that the 66 cars that have so far been handed over to the police have failed the rigor of the regular police work. The cars were procured by O'Brien's International Car Rental and Sales under a multi-million-dollar contract. The cars are now being used for administrative purposes within the Jamaica Constabulary Force. In the meantime, O'Brien's is yet to repay the $213 million it was advanced. The police used car saga broke last year when it was discovered that O'Brien's was paid nearly $427 million to procure and deliver 200 pre-owned vehicles to the police. The company failed to deliver all the vehicles and could not account for how $218 million was spent. And Parliament Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC, has unveiled more worry at the state-owned National Energy Solutions Limited, NESol. According to the PAAC, without a contract, NESol hired a private firm, Peak Energy Solutions Limited, and paid it more than $12 million for service rendered. The payment was verified by Operations Manager Lawrence Pommels, who has since been arrested by the police after he was allegedly found with more than $35 million in cash. PAAC member Philip Paulwell said NESol's response to questions about the matter has raised additional concern. He said NESol's excuse that the police are probing the matter should not impede the work of the parliamentarians to seek the truth. The resigned NESol boss, Carolyn Warren, was a director of the Universal Service Fund and also chairman of the projects committee which contracted Peak Energy. Attorney-at-law Jennifer Mesado is due to return to court on fraud charges on Tuesday. Last Wednesday, her matter had to be adjourned after a smelly accident in the courtroom at the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court. Her attorney, Christopher Townsend, said Mesado, at nearly 70 years old, has been undergoing stress and her health continues to deteriorate. She was in court in relation to the fraudulent attempt to acquire property owned by the Sports Development Foundation. Businessman Norman Horn has paid Mesado millions of dollars to acquire the property, but later learned that it was never up for sale. Come next month, scores of Jamaicans will be among just over 500,000 Commonwealth-born people in the United Kingdom who could be in line for Windrush compensation. This is part of the proposed scheme to help redress the impact on the Windrush generation who faced difficulties in demonstrating their lawful status under the UK's immigration system. The consultation scheme, called the Windrush Consultation Compensation Papers, precedes the publication of a consultation response document by next month. This period of consultation will be used to determine the status of those who have lived in the UK since arriving there before the immigration law was changed in 1973. Immigration attorney Jennifer Housen explained that before 1962, people born in Commonwealth countries, including Jamaica, were deemed British subjects, including all those who left during what is now called the Windrush generation. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. You may tune in to Power 106 FM for regular updates. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. I'm Damian Mitchell, and before we go, former U.S. President Barack Obama has appealed to Americans to do what's right to maintain respect for the nation. His appeal comes days after a New York Times piece said Donald Trump officials were resisting some of the president's orders to save the dignity of the office.
I'm here today because this is one of those pivotal moments when every one of us, as citizens of the United States, need to determine just who it is that we are, just what it is that we stand for. And as a fellow citizen, not as an ex-president, but as a fellow citizen, I'm here to deliver a simple message, and that is that you need to vote because our democracy depends on it. Republicans who know better in Congress, and they're there, they're quoted saying, yeah, we know this is kind of crazy, are still bending over backwards to shield this behavior from scrutiny or accountability or consequence. Seem utterly unwilling to find the backbone to safeguard the institutions that make our democracy work. And by the way, the claim that everything will turn out okay because there are people inside the White House who secretly aren't following the president's orders, that is not a check. I'm being serious here. That's not how our democracy is supposed to work. This is not normal. So these are extraordinary times. And they're dangerous times.